Alright, fuckers. Corey Margera here. And in this episode, I want to talk about two shows that were basically horror themed since this is the month of October, for fuck's sakes. So, might as well do some horror Halloween themed episodes to some certain fucking extent. And basically, you know, just talking to a few people on some forums and people on YouTube, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Why do people prefer Are You Afraid of the Dark over Goosebumps? I just don't get it. I, for one, prefer Goosebumps over Are You Afraid of the Dark. And I'm going to tell you why in this video. Because, to me, Goosebumps was just much more entertaining. You know, it was a lot creepier in some ways, too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, Are You Afraid of the Dark definitely had its moments. I mean, it definitely had its moments where it could be, like, really creepy, really far out, you know. And I definitely think that the Are You Afraid of the Dark intro is way better than Goosebumps' intro. It's a much creepier, darker tone, you know, with the closet and the clown doll and shit, and the match that goes out. I definitely think Are You Afraid of the Dark had a way better intro than Goosebumps did. But, be that as it may, I definitely thought that Goosebumps was a much better show. I'm going to tell you why. I mean, for one, I definitely remember a lot more Goosebumps episodes that really just entertained me and got me interested as a child. One of my favorites being the Night of the Living Dummy series, which, ironically enough, they never made an episode of the first Night of the Living Dummy fucking book, but they made episodes on the second one, the third one, and Bride of the Living Dummy. But they never made an episode for the first one, which was always weird to me. But, you know, and I definitely prefer this Slappy over that shitty Slappy from the Jack Black Goosebumps movie that just came out recently, not too long ago. And, you know, this Slappy is a fucking badass. This Slappy is fucking, he looks like something that would be in a horror movie. That Slappy from the Goosebumps movie that just came out doesn't even look scary. This motherfucker looks intimidating. He looks scary. He looks creepy. Like, if I had a fucking ventriloquist dummy that looked like that, I would want one. I definitely, if I could find one on eBay or some shit, I would buy. That motherfucker looks creepy as hell. He looks like something that's gonna come alive. If you read the card in his fucking pocket, the Karu Marie Odana Loma Malinu Karano, you know, this motherfucker looks like something that's gonna come alive, you know. A lot of people compare Slappy to Chucky too, and I can definitely see the comparison, but I personally think Slappy is creepier than Chucky. Chucky is just more aggressive. Slappy, I mean, you just look at him, he's not even alive, and he just looks like something that could come to life and kill you or something like that. I mean, he just had a creepier look than Chucky ever did, whether he was stitched up and looking like Frankenstein or not, the regular good guy doll. But that's just my opinion, you know. But I mean, Goosebumps just had a lot of way better episodes, man. I mean, even from like the Haunted Mask episode, you know, the Haunted Mask, especially the first one. The second one was okay too, but the first one, where Carly Beth, she's sick of getting picked on, you know, she wants to be scary for Halloween. And, you know, I mean, and the way, like, she goes about it, I mean, it's a very interesting episode. I mean, it's actually pretty deep, too, you know. I personally recommend it if you've never watched, even if you're not a Goosebumps fan, even if you don't like kids shows from the 90s or kids shows in general, I definitely recommend checking that episode out. The original Haunted Mask episode was just really good. I thought, whatever her name is, she was actually in an episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark, too. The actor, by the way, both of these shows were Canadian. You know, both of these shows were shot in Canada. Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark were shot in Canada. So I'm wondering if one of my subscribers, Diesel101 Raw, if he ever watched any of these shows. because he's from Canada. I don't know. I know they have a channel called YTV up there, but I don't know. But yeah, the Haunted Mask episode was actually a really good episode. You know, it talks about, you know, how Carly Beth was just sick of getting picked on. And then, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but definitely check it out because I think it's a very relatable episode to some people out there. But, you know, I just always preferred Goosebumps over Are You Afraid of the Dark? And one thing that really pissed me off about Are You Afraid of the Dark was this motherfucker right here. This fucking Sardo. This motherfucker who looks like a cheesier version of fucking Paul Heyman. You know, I never liked this guy. He was in almost every episode. Not every episode, but he was almost in every single episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark? I mean, he was just so annoying. I hated this guy. He wasn't even creepy or anything. He was just an annoying nuisance piece of shit. He's an annoying fucker, man. I fucking hated that character on Are You Afraid of the Dark? He was like in almost every episode. He would always get involved in the plot somehow. And it was just, to me, it was just like, fuck, man. This guy sucks. God damn this motherfucker. But yeah, I mean, and another thing that I didn't like about Are You Afraid of the Dark was just like, you know, every episode had like a good ending. You know, and that's one thing about Goosebumps that was much better. Goosebumps actually had like some real creepy endings, some real twist endings. Like, you know, I mean, every ending from Are You Afraid of the Dark was almost like, you know, it's like it had a happy ending. You know, they've solved the problem. They found out, like that ghost episode, but, you know, I mean, to me, that's what I always liked about Goosebumps. Goosebumps always had like a weird, creepy ending at times. Sometimes it had a good ending. Sometimes it would have like a twist ending. Perfect example. Night of the Living Dummy 2. The episode Night of the Living Dummy 2 on Goosebumps. At the end of the episode, you know, they find out that who really killed Slappy, who really smashed his head in. And it was like, it wasn't any of the girls, it wasn't their brother, it wasn't the parents. It ended up being the other puppet, Dennis, the other dummy that, what's her name, Amy had before she got Slappy. And then he was like, oh, it's good to be back in the family again. Sounding like fucking Goofy from Disney or some shit. And that was a weird ending. And like he was alive now, you know. I love that ending. I still to this day love Goosebumps just for that ending, man. I swear, Goosebumps always had some real kick-ass endings and some real kick-ass episodes. Another real good one was this one. Another real good one was Calling All Creeps. Now, this is one of my personal favorite episodes because it shows how this nerd character, you know, he's always getting abused at school by, you know, this chick, Tasha McClain. She's a real skank bitch hoe. And, you know, she started telling rumors about Ricky Beamer, the nerd, and up in the right corner, up in the upper right corner right there with the glasses. Looks like the motherfucker from Step by Step. But yeah, I mean, he's trying to get revenge on her, so he tries to put like a rumor in the newspaper saying if you're a real creep, call Tasha McClain at 555 whatever. And then, you know, it's the typical 555 number that you see in TV all the time. But you know, he's basically trying to get revenge, but then Tasha finds out what he's trying to do. So she changes the phone number in the paper to Ricky's. So then, you know, he's now going to start getting calls from these creeps and shit. But and literally enough, it's a good thing that she fucked up his plan cuz this turned out to be in his favor. The creeps now think that Ricky is their master. You know, the kids who were originally picking on him, they're actually creeps. And they think that Ricky's their master and he's their commander. So, you know, Ricky, you know, he's reluctantly like putting these seeds in the lunch food because the plan is to turn all the students into creeps, you know, just like them. But Ricky reluctantly does it. You know, he doesn't really want to see anybody turn to creeps. And then like they start to manipulate him at the end of the episode. He was like, don't let them bother you. You'll be their ruler. And then at the end of the episode, he takes off his glasses and he eats the cookie. They put him in the cookies. It's a great episode. Watch it. I don't want to spoil it for you. Watch the fucking episode. It's excellent. It's one of my personal favorite Goosebumps episodes. Definitely recommend it. It should be up here on YouTube. Check it out. Gotta watch it. All right, I definitely recommend it if you've never seen it before. It's a very relatable story. It's a good story. I love it personally. And another real good one, I thought this was a real good episode from Goosebumps, was the Shocker on Shock Street episode where, I forget the kids' names. I haven't seen it in a while. But yeah, I was actually watching some old Goosebumps episodes on YouTube not too long ago, but I forgot the name of these kids. Basically, the chick's father, if you can call it that. Well, you'll have to see the episode for yourself, but the chick's father right here, he comes up with these weird creations. He's like, he has his own amusement park, and he comes up with the rides and stuff for films and stuff. He creates like the monsters from monster movies and shit. So he basically has like his own theme park too. So he allows his daughter on the left hand side and her friend on the with the purple sweatshirt. He lets them see the new stuff for free, like before it's even released, before they even open it at the theme parks. And so they basically start going on the rides and stuff, and one of the rides that they go on, it breaks down. And so basically they're like, and the father's specifically like, don't get out of the thing. If you get in any real danger, use these laser guns and shoot the monsters and shit. But so they stay in the car, and then it just stops, and then they're like, what the fuck, what happened to the ride? And so they get out of the ride, and they start going around the amusement park. And then he's like, why would your father create real monsters? Because they start seeing like real monsters come alive and shit, and like one of them grabs them. And then and the real twist ending is like the fact that they're actually, the kids right here, they're actually robots created by the father. They're actually not really his kids. Well, that's not really his daughter. They're both robots. And then he's like, I can't believe they said that they have a mother. I didn't program them to have a mother. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the spoiler alert, they come alive, and they're like, you actually created us real well. And then they're about to like take... You gotta watch the episode. It's Shocker on Shock Street. It's a really good Goosebumps episode. I definitely recommend it. It's actually a really, really cool episode. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. That's why I prefer Goosebumps over Are You Afraid of the Dark. I find Are You Afraid of the Dark to be highly overrated. I think Goosebumps is a much better series, a much better horror series for like kids and shit. So it was a much better 90s horror series. I think R.L. Stine, he's a better writer too. I mean, I'll be honest, R.L. Stine is a better writer than whoever they got to write Are You Afraid of the Dark. I mean, R.L. Stine alone, he had some really, really neat ideas, for children's horror. And, horror for like kids who grew up in the fucking 90s and shit. So, that's just my opinion right there. I think Are You Afraid of the Dark is highly overrated. I think Goosebumps is way better, had better episodes. It was a lot creepier. I wouldn't say it was a scary show, but it was just a real weird and creepy show. And I actually found it to be much better than Are You Afraid of the Dark? And that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Did you grow up in the 90s? Did you watch Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark, or both? Leave a comment in the comment section. Rate, comment, subscribe, all that good shit. Tell me what you think is better, what you think is a better show. And on that note, I am done. Later, guys.